What's up, everybody? Welcome to Flashy Knowledge, the podcast, my informal talk around business, life, entrepreneurship, and everything in between. It's your host and your boy, Don Mohsin here, welcoming you to episode 9. In episode 9, we are talking about the realities of corporate life, or what corporate life is really like. And I've got a special guest with us here today, my friend John Lucas. He is a young professional, and we actually met in the context of work. And we're just here to kind of share our thoughts and feelings around corporate life and how things have kind of changed for us. And we figured we'd do it in a timeline version, so kind of where we started and where we are now, and kind of share everything in between with you guys. Just in case you're perhaps thinking about joining the corporate world, maybe you're in the corporate world or somewhere in between, we can share our thoughts, feelings, and experiences and maybe guide you in one direction or the other. So I'm going to start off with kind of my version of where I started. So I started in the corporate world in 2011. And, for me, just from what I experienced with like school and parents and friends, getting a corporate job was it. That was the American dream. I probably started at a much younger age with my parents, because my parents were immigrants. So to them, having like a nice, well-paying corporate job that has health benefits and it's stable, that was like it. Like they knew their kids had made it. So that idea was instilled in me for quite some time. That's probably since I was a young boy. And then when you get to college, they really do train you to work for someone else. It's like all they teach you. And I studied IT and criminal justice, so everything was about getting the 9-to-5 job, and everything pushed me in that direction. So I thought corporate world was it. That was like the big thing to go after. So that's mainly all I pursued. Now, those of you who know my background know I kind of pursued law enforcement as well. I did a couple things there, but everything in my mindset kind of pushed me back towards the whole corporate life, because that was like the safe thing. That was the thing to do. And I just had like a fantasy view of the corporate world. It was well-paying, and you're going to move up, and you're going to be a VP, and everything's so great inside the corporate world, and you're safe, and everything is great. And that's kind of the idea I started with when I started back working in the corporate world in 2011. And it probably stayed that way for a little while, because those thoughts and ideas were so prominent, and they were baked in my head for so long that's all I thought about was, this is it. This is the American dream, and I finally made it, and I'm never going anywhere. So, John, what kind of experiences have you had kind of starting off when you started off?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, thanks again for having me on. Excited to do this. But yeah, going off of, I'd like to echo a lot of what you had just said. I think growing up, you're pretty much trained to have a corporate job, to go through that. High school gets you ready for college. College is pretty much training you to be a 9-to-5 employee, whether you pursue one type of career or another. I think the end all be all, and what I've always grown up and accustomed to is you go through college, you go through those different steps, and then you have that corporate job, and that is the end all be all to most people that you grow up with, and parents and people that you look up to. That's kind of like the top of it, and then from there, expectation is that you would gradually move up the ranks. Just like in college when you get your first job offer and how much more money that is than anything else you've made in your life. So you're like, this is it. Like I'm so all in. I got this. I got all these fancy benefits. I can take time off and still get paid for it. Like, are you serious? Like, all these things that are brand new to you, and you're like, yeah, people have been raving about it, and this is the reason why.
Yeah. So you mentioned like fancy benefits, money. And a couple things that really, I guess from what I take, you were enticed by that, and you kind of consumed you right into thinking that, oh my God, like there's nothing else. Am I right in that?
Yeah, exactly. I think kind of comparing it to anything else you've had before, before starting in the corporate life, or anything else that you're accustomed to. You're not really looking for any alternative. I think like you kind of feel like you already reached the point where, I don't know, you've made it to a certain extent, and then you can only get, you can climb up the ranks and go through that to get your promotion, and gradually get up to a more and more high paying job. So
what at the very beginning of your career, what sticks out most to you about like what you remember, like as far as your like emotion, maybe even one sentence, like what sticks out to you?
So that's a really good question. I don't know. I think when I started, just like that brand new structure, I think at the same time, because now all of a sudden you're working 9 to 5 regularly. There's no time off. You don't have a lot of the holidays or anything else like that from college. I think that's kind of the one thing that kind of sticks out. Of course, the other thing I think about is you're completely on your own. So kind of paying the different bills you have that you've never really been responsible for, at least for myself, growing up and I don't know, being able to take care of all of that because of the different, different income that you get.
So if you had to sum up your emotion, though, at the beginning, I'm sure we both felt excited and we thought the world was ours.
Yeah.
Because we were heading into the corporate world. How would you kind of sum that up for our audience?
I'd say proud.
Yeah.
I think just really happy about how I finished out college, how I was able to get a good corporate job of exactly what I wanted. Salary, the benefits, all that's attached to it. I was proud of myself at that point of feeling like I kind of made a huge jump in my life, and everything was on progress, and everything was on track from that standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that sentiment. I mean, I think if I had to sum it up at the very beginning, it was just like proud, excitement.
Yeah.
Just the idea of being on top of the world because I got this job. And to your point, I mean, it's more money than we had seen ever.
Yeah.
So I'm rich.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, what else do I need?
Yeah. I made it. This is it. And I agree with that so much. The whole proud excitement thing. Cause I'm sure we had friends that you didn't get jobs. I had plenty of friends that didn't get jobs. They had jobs where I knew they probably weren't getting paid as much. And, as much as I loved and cared about them, of course, there was still that sense of pride. I got this, well-paying job.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting. The reason I wanted to bring out that emotion because as we're going through our timeline, I want to see how our emotions sum up and change as we get to different phases. Okay, so you guys got an idea of where we are when we started, what our thoughts were like. They were actually obviously very similar, and I think a lot of young professionals will probably feel the way we felt.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's fast forward a little bit. Let's talk about mid-career, okay? So for you, that'd be about 2.5 years in, and for me, that's, I guess, 4.5 years, something around there. So around that time frame, mid-career, I would say I started thinking about where am I going with this? It was just it was almost like an afterthought. I'd done a couple different things and I had a few skill sets under my belt, but I wasn't exactly sure where to take it. I just knew that I was doing okay. I was doing good, and I'm just going to continue on in this path, and we'll see what happens. It was more of a we'll see what happens kind of thing. But hey, I feel like mid-career I was still kind of in I'm enjoying making money. I'm enjoying having a stable job. I'm enjoying having the benefits and just stability. I think those years taught me that, latch on to what you got because, there were layoffs all the time and you hear about, the economy going down. So you're like, dude, I'm not going anywhere. I don't need to think about anything else. I'm solid. So I would say that I started thinking about next steps, but it still was more of an afterthought. Around that time, though, is when different ideas did start popping in my head. Do I want to be a VP? Do I want to be a director, an SVP? Is it here? Is it somewhere else? I wouldn't say mid-career. It was towards not being in the corporate world. I think I still had that idea that I'm safe here, don't leave, and this is it. And I was still kind of stuck with that as the main thought, but I had these little nagging ideas that started to creep up in the back of my head that I was trying to fight off, but as time will show, they reared their ugly head a little bit later on. But I think it was still more domination towards staying here, being safe, and having a corporate job, and just fighting back those, what I call back then, demons that are trying to tell me, hey, is this it? Or are you thinking, do we need to think about something else? What's your 5-year plan? I wasn't able to pivot fully to open up those thoughts and ideas. So talk to me a little bit about where you were kind of mid-career.
Yeah, definitely a lot of thoughts around that as well. I think as a whole, I think the job that I was doing day to day, I really enjoyed the people I was working with. I really enjoyed that manager, everything like that. Like that was all. I mean, it was good, but essentially what you're doing is you're trading your time for money, and it's kind of frustrating when you start to understand that, and you're like, no matter what I do, the ceiling is very close to where you are there. I mean, it's just a matter of progressing and getting that experience. That's kind of what's mostly valued, like at a corporate level. So if I do everything I can, work like 14-hour days and do all that, I'm not really going to see any payoff when it comes to like financial benefits or anything like that, because ultimately a corporation is going to determine what you're being paid based on your experience, how old you are, and that type of thing. And I think that was kind of frustrating for me, where I just felt like that ceiling. I was like, I want to learn, I want to continue doing all this, but I'm not getting any, I don't know, incentive to really go forward with everything. So like I said, I think that's kind of the turning point. And then I guess I've always kind of been interested in just construction as a whole, the whole like real estate market, understanding that. And then I kept on diving into it more and more, and hearing all these different experience about how people have had a similar corporate job, and they're actually able to get financial independence through a different route, having their own business, kind of all tied to real estate, and all the different incentives that are kind of tied to that. So I think that's really where I started to think, and you also kind of just look around and you're like, do I really want to be here for another 10 or 15 years just to be a manager? Do I want to be here for another 20, 25 years just to be a director? And like I said earlier, like you're ultimately just trading your time for money, right? So as you move up the ranks, it doesn't, I mean, you're going to be spending a lot more time with work. So at what point in time do you say, hey, this isn't worth it? And for me, it's all about like kind of owning, what you're doing with your time, right? And you don't want to just be owed to a corporation and everything like that.
So your mid-career, you were actually more, I guess, I don't know if confused is the right word, but you seemed like you were challenging a lot more things mid-career than I was, right? Because you started looking at real estate and
yeah.
So you hit the accelerator quicker than I did.
just kind of looking around, I guess I just got introduced to it, and I've always, like I said, I've been interested in that, and then it just, I don't know, I think I was very frustrated with like wanting to learn but not being like incentivized to do that. And like I want to ultimately own, I mean, entrepreneurship or anything like that, or owning your own company, you can go at your own pace, and a lot of the times the more time you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And for being a corporation, there's a certain limit you hit, or a threshold, where you just don't get that return. I mean, the marginal utility goes down and down and down. So what's the purpose of I don't know, sticking around for all of that?
Good for you, man. You learned that quicker than I did. Okay, so we were kind of mid-career. We're kind of slightly different places. I think I was a little bit behind you mid-career. I was fighting back those thoughts and ideas and just trying to take the safe route, where you kind of embraced it a little bit more. So, all right, we gave the words of proud and excitement and generally around there when we started. How would you sum up kind of your emotions around mid-career?
I think, I don't know.
While you think, I'll talk about mine. So mid-career, I think I was still, I want to say stubborn. I really want to go with that, honestly, because 4.5 years in, right, I'm almost refusing to think about anything else. Like I told you, I was fighting back those demons of like those little things clawing at me, like, hey, is this it? Do you want to do something else? What are you doing? So I was kind of stubborn, and I was like, no, I've been taught this, and no, like this is the right way. Look at all these quote happy people around me, who are, I mean, it's almost like, hey, if so many people are doing it, it can't be wrong, right? So I want to say almost stubborn and stupid. That's being kind of harsh on myself, but hey, I need to be. It was kind of stubborn and a stupid combo, because there's a reason why your intuition, your instinct brings up these questions, and a lot of us, and I'm kind of jumping ahead here, a lot of us bury that deep down or continue to fight it for the rest of our lives, and we see that a lot around here, right? They've buried that their true self and not allow that individual to come out or express those interests or those desires. And I felt that, I felt like that's what I was doing, and I can't almost be blamed because I saw everyone doing that also. Right. So if I had to sum it up, I would say stubborn and stupid is kind of how I felt.
I thought you were actually going to say the word I was going to say. Stuck is kind of how
stuck.
I felt.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly because you kind of, like, you're still happy. I mean, it's not like I, like, went to work being like, oh, I don't want to do this. Yeah. Like, I mean, I actually enjoyed it from, day to day. But it was, like, looking down the road and being like, I can't be here and say that I'm happy, like, on a consistent basis. So felt like stuck. And also kind of the part that I still struggle with today is like I know what I should be doing, but it's like getting the gears moving and moving in that direction, and my personality doesn't really lend itself to just kind of going kind of crazy all of a sudden, or kind of going that direction. Like all of a sudden I'm very analytical, and I don't feel comfortable unless I know like everything around it. So I think I kind of just at that point I was like, I know this is the path for me, but I just feel stuck kind of going forward. So
I've got a question for you, because you brought up something interesting. You said you like doing your day-to-day, so you enjoyed that, but yet you weren't happy. So how do you help the audience kind of understand that part? It's like you like doing your work, you like coming to work, but you weren't happy. Why weren't you happy?
I think it's just like going back, like the complete ownership of what I'm doing and getting financially compensated for that. So, I mean, no matter how much I work, like there's only so much that's kind of that I'm incentivized for. But if I were able to like own a business or own something of my own, I know exactly like my time and kind of a reflection of that, and what kind of financial incentives are part of that.
Okay, so it's more so like a money and a time trade-off.
I think that's always what it kind of goes back to.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I think if, and the other, I mean, it's all time, right? I mean, at the end of the day, all we have is time, one person to another. So I think just like consistently like feeling like I'm wasting time is something that like I'm just not, doesn't sit well with me, I guess is how I'd phrase that.
Okay. So stuck was your word.
Yeah.
All right, so let's fast forward to today and what our thoughts and experiences are today, so that way we can close the loop for the audience. Where am I today? So I can honestly say that probably the most changes for me happened towards what I'm calling the end of my corporate career, right? Or the supposed end of my corporate career. I took and fought this battle for so long, and like these thoughts and ideas so long to get out and do something else. And I think in the last year and a half, maybe even let's stretch it. Let's say maybe the last 2 years, right, is where I made the most drastic changes in thoughts and ideas and development. So now, my thoughts behind the corporate world are it's like a sheep or lamb factory, where people come to have their dreams and hopes crushed, and they conform and take a paycheck home so they don't think about themselves or anything, and they rinse and repeat every day. And I can honestly say I was one of them, for sure, and I've done that for quite some time. And it's where people give up on what they really want to do, and it's where people bury that true self that I was talking about earlier, and they never look back. And they watch other people do it, just like I did, so therefore they feel like it's okay what they're doing. And we can go off on a whole tangent about this, but honestly, the corporate world is designed to do that. Businesses, big corporations designed to do that. And even I can even challenge and say millionaires and billionaires want that, because there's less people thinking and less competition for them. If we were all entrepreneurs and we're all thinking about the next electric car company and going to the moon and going to Mars, then it might rattle some cages of people who like are trying to own that area. Now there are some good millionaires and billionaires who like encourage that stuff, don't get me wrong, but if you listen to YouTube and some of these other people out there, they almost agree with the idea that, hey, these corporations, big business, they don't want you thinking. They want you to come to work, clock in, clock out, take that paycheck, don't think. and just be rinsing and repeating every day. So that's how I honestly feel about the corporate world. And now I know by now it is not for me. Now mid-career, maybe might still do it. Now it's just not for me. I want to, I don't know, maybe it's called being woke or whatever, waking up from the matrix. But that's honestly the way I feel now, because before I used to feel like one of them, like walking around like, I belong here. Now I feel like I don't belong here at all, and I feel like the odd man out. And I know I'm going off on a little bit of a ramble here, but that's honestly how I feel. I just feel so out of place. I feel, now I'll use your word, I feel stuck, not only career-wise, but mentally, personally. I mean, heck, even like spiritually, like everything, everything you can think of, I feel stuck. And it's hit me so hard in the last year and a half, 2 years since I started The Lasting Impression, my company. But even then, I started that like half-assed, because I was like, like it's a new thing, and new companies are for like lucky guys and lucky women who just have like all the luck in the world and they become millionaires. It's not for me. So I kind of started the company with that scared mindset anyway. But now I'm just like, why not me? I've listened to so many people who started from nothing, like reading books or watching people on YouTube, and just starting from nothing, creating the world with their own hands. But no one puts that idea in your head and helps you accept that idea, because everyone always pushes you the safe route. Like my parents are a good example, right? And I know they mean well, they love me, and they want a better life for me than they had. So of course they have the right intention, but it's all about perspective, right? So now I just totally feel different about the corporate world. It's a place where people and souls go to die. I know that's kind of harsh, and hey, if you love corporate life and you love 9 to 5, hey, my hat's off to you. Keep doing your thing, seriously. But I've just opened my eyes to so many other things, and so many things that can be done, so many things that can be solved in this world that people aren't able to do because they're either scared, they've been stuck in the corporate world, or they've had their hopes and dreams like kind of crushed down, or they've hit it. So these things aren't getting done. And I don't want that for myself. I've seen colleagues, I'm sure you have too, that have been here for 20, 30, 40 years, and that's all they've known. And I'm like, dude, do I want that like as my, what's the thing when you die, eulogy? Like this person worked in the corporate world for 40 years and was the best spreadsheet maker you can find. Like, I'm like, no, that actually is what terrifies me, and it makes me want to like run and jump towards like entrepreneurship and doing different things. Even if I fail, I don't care. At least I'm like trying to strive for greatness. And then I know I went on a complete. This is where this is good. This is where the bulk of my thoughts and feelings are. I'm sure you can tell.
They're fresh.
But yeah, they're right now. You're getting live Mo right here, live Don right here. So, it's just kind of where I'm at right now, and I don't ever want to look back. And once I made that decision, I've gotten so much clarity in my life, but I've also gotten like the old Mo coming back and saying, dude, you got to be safe. Like, your benefits, your money, what's wrong with you? And I'm kind of punching that old Mo in the face now and saying, like, yeah, that's great, but I'm not happy. And now happiness is is priority number one, right? Happiness, soul searching, finding out what really fulfills you. Maybe it's something about when you get in your 30s, I don't know. but now fulfillment and happiness is everything. And I can't unsee that. Like once you wake up from the Matrix, you can't, you can't go back. You're not going to go back because it's not real. And that's why I'm working so hard to get my way out of the corporate world, because I just know now it's not for me. And it's been the best thing and the worst thing at the same time. Because I know it's the right path and it's my future and it feels right. And the worst thing is because I have so many old thoughts and ideas that are still trying to claw their way back and say, be safe, don't do this, so you might not make it. and I just need to keep punching that thing in the face. So that's my rambling for where we are now. So John, what do you got? How you changed to now?
I mean, a few thoughts just based on what you had said. I think the number one thing is like once you go into the corporate world, it's designed to almost be like a paycheck's like a drug, right? So you're dependent on it like from week to week to week. You're dependent on it, right? And then like you're happy with that because at some point in the year you're going to be going on vacation, right? So like you look forward to it, and then you get to that, and then I don't know. Then what do you look forward to then? Like your next vacation next year, and you kind of like just let time pass you by. I mean, like that's not really like that doesn't sit well with me at all, and doing all of that. So, and then the other thing too is, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't, regardless of whenever you pass away or whatnot, no one's going to be writing any of that on your tombstone, right? You're not remembered by the work that you've done that you at a corporate world. It's every other impact that you have across the world that people actually you remember you by. So I guess those are like my quick thoughts. As far as like where I am right now, I mean it's just a constant thing in my head of this is okay with me right now, but at some point I really need to transition because I know ultimately if I never try to go outside of this corporate lifestyle, I will definitely not be happy. And like looking back on it, even if I fail, I mean, of course you're going to go through like the whole thing you're seeing right now, like the whole imposter syndrome, right? Where you just don't think you're good enough. There's like everything in the back of your head saying like, be safe and everything like that. But just taking the next step forward, and doing it maybe like on a gradual basis where it's healthy, it's still safe. But at least like you're dipping your toes in the water, you're understanding more and more, instead of just jumping right into that water. So
a quick question. You said right now it's okay for you. In your opinion, when will it not be okay for you? Or do you know that yet?
I don't think I know that. I think like if you ask me right now in 5 years, do I want to be doing this? No, and I probably wouldn't. Like I wouldn't be happy with myself if I was doing the same thing I'm doing now in 5 years. So I think that's kind of the timeline. I mean, I think next year is when I'm targeting to purchase a rental property and start all of that, and then ultimately the goal is to have that kind of as a snowball effect, and eventually you can rely on that as your monthly income as well as an investment later on in the future. So I think that's kind of where it'll all start. And I know right now it's the unsexy part about it, but it's just saving, right? I mean, saving money so that take it for what this job is and the income you can get. So I think that's been the primary focus, and 2020 is when we're looking to buy a rental property. So
you're taking kind of a slow step-by-step approach
to a certain extent. I mean, I think honestly with my personality, I'm gonna dip my toes into it, and I'm gonna be all in, because it's just gonna be like, why wouldn't I do this right now? This is where I'm happiest. Like, I love the day-to-day work, control over your time, control over what you can make. I mean,
so eventually that you are gonna go all in. So it's not even
it's not a thought. Okay. But to your point, I mean, at what point do you draw the line and say, hey, this is it, I'm done here, and I need to do everything I can in my power. I mean, and the thing is, I mean, worst comes to worst, if any of these things fail, you can always get another job, right?
Exactly.
I mean, so at the end of the day, I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? So I think that I need to get through my head and have those those cogs turning and everything else to get on.
Because you got 5 years of experience. 9 years of experience. I mean, we can always find the most boring corporate job.
Yeah, we're in the most popular field right now. I mean, like.
So and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I think I'm at a point where I've been doing what you are saying, which is kind of work your normal job, but then hustle on the side, right? Until that spools up. But what I'm noticing now is there's some people that believe that and do that until it gets to a point where you can like leave. But I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't think I'm getting to spend the right amount of time on my side hustle to get it up to where it needs to be, because I'm already drained from the normal 9 to 5, right. And I'm only able to give 30% to my side hustle, if you're lucky, right? And so my challenge right now is do I dedicate 100% to my side, see if I can do this like for real, or do I just keep kind of what I'm calling right now is half-assing it. Because let's be honest, if you have a 9 to 5 and you have a stable job, there's not that much urgency. Let's be honest. There really isn't, because you have that job backing you up. Now, someone pushes you off the cliff and they hand you like things to make a parachute. You're going to start building that shit pretty fast because you're falling off a cliff, right?
Yeah, it's a perfect analogy, yeah.
And I almost feel like that's where I'm at. I'm at the edge of the cliff, and I'm like, I got the parachute, and I'm not jumping, and I'm just kind of staying there, but I'm telling people, or I'm telling myself I'm going to jump, but I'm not jumping. I'm just kind of thinking, maybe it's time to jump and build that damn parachute. And to your point, you brought up a great thing. And this is really our wanting to be safe side coming out, which is we can get another job. Because it's funny how we immediately
We're both on the same wavelength.
Hey, we can get another job. We're almost like reinforcing that thought to each other. That, hey, we'll be okay, man. We'll get another job.
Yeah.
But the point is, for me personally, I don't think I want to think like that, because I want the side hustle to be it, and I want to give everything I can to get that thing up and running, whether it's my fashion company, whether it's another company I make. I don't want to fall back. And I've caught myself slipping a few times, like saying, "Oh, I'll get another job," or I already started, like potentially looking at other places in case things don't work out, And I'm just like, stop, dude. Like your side hustle is what you want and what you want to do and what you'll enjoy. Why aren't you putting that energy into getting that stuff done? So I'm curious, did that change your mind at all about kind of fully jumping or?
No, I mean, absolutely. I think you phrased it perfectly. I mean, like if you have a corporate job, right, the amount of time you spend on it, even if you're not in your job, right, you wake up, you commute, I don't know, you prep for anything. I mean, that's the majority of your day. And I mean, when you're done with that, I mean, do you really feel like working on something else? I mean, maybe for a few hours, but it's tough. I mean, it's tough to crank that out day in, day out. Even if you are like, heavily motivated to go that path, at some point in time, I think I kind of feel the same way too, where you kind of, I think about it all the time where like, someone's just like, I almost feel like someone just needs to push you out of the plane, and then like that's that, and you figure it out.
Maybe it's got to be you.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you got to push yourself
I know.
out.
I've considered that before, and I mean, there's definitely, you definitely would make things happen a lot quicker when there's that type of urgency. And to your point, I think naturally it just does. I mean, you don't have that type of urgency when you have a corporate job, because no one's pushing you. It has to be from yourself, and how averse are you for everything like that. So. I don't know. But going back to my earlier comment about like, always finding another job. I'm definitely not saying that. So to take it other, as you quit your job, to look at other ones just to make sure that there's a job waiting for you. Yeah. It's more of like that's the last possible option. You can always go back to it. So you try your side hustle 100% forever, how long you think it is, and then if it doesn't work out, I don't know. You go back to the corporate life and. You go through that cycle, and then maybe you come back out a better entrepreneur, and you've learned so many other things in that whole process.
I would say I for sure agree with that, but I'm gonna give the audience another option, which is don't even consider that your side hustle won't work out. Keep working at it, keep changing until it does. Like this is something Tony Robbins says as well, right? He's like, "What happens when one thing doesn't work?" And then the audience says, "Well, try something else." He's like, "All right, what happens if that doesn't work?" You try something else. Okay.
Just continues to evolve.
I mean, if that is your priority, if that's what you want in life, nothing should stop you. Now, knowing when to quit is like a different thing. Like maybe the business idea sucks.
Bills. You do have to pay bills.
Yeah. So maybe it's time to switch business up a little bit. Like maybe your business model sucks or something like that. That's a totally different topic. But if that's your priority in life, I would say making it a success number one thing. And the only
top
thing.
Priority. Yeah.
If you think
your
any
one
other
thing,
way, if you think any other way, you'll always give yourself slack and always run to backup. So, and I know we've been going on for a while, but so closing out. So, what advice do you have for young professionals that are potentially maybe next year? Because it's December. Maybe they're graduating in spring and they're really excited to apply to corporate jobs and consulting agencies. What's your advice for them?
I'd say not necessarily not to do it right away. I think there is some value in going that route. I think you become a lot more polished as probably a young professional going that route, but just have an understanding of what else is going on around you, right? That self-awareness of, all these people that are around me, is that something you truly want? Are you willing to put in all that time and effort, and then you're still ultimately kind of giving that power up to a corporation? I mean, is that something you truly want, or do you want to continue to kind of, I don't know, think in the entrepreneurial spirit and kind of come up with different things that you could maybe eventually have as a side hustle and then as a business full time? So I think, I'm still looking back on it. I'm still happy with how where my career is right now. Mm-hmm. But not for very much longer. I'd say at some point you gotta pull the cord. You gotta, you just have to go with it. Yeah, exactly. So
okay. Very similar, my advice. I would say two things. One is, look, we've been somewhat bashing corporate life, but if that's for you and that's what you enjoy, you like a nice boxed lunch life, and you like working 9 to 5 and sitting in traffic and all that, that's cool. Like I said earlier, that's perfectly fine. No harm, no foul. You found your dream job, cool. Stick with it. For everyone else, I would say you do learn a lot being in the corporate world. You do get polished. You learn a lot of different skill sets, some tangible, some intangible. Mm-hmm. Either way, it helps you out a lot. A lot of the stuff I learned in my corporate life helped me launch my company and give presentations and all that. So you definitely learn a lot. It's where you start working and then you forget about your life mission, your goals, your wants, your needs, your desires. When that becomes like at the bottom of your priority list, that's when you have a problem. So for those of you starting in the corporate world, being a young professional, it's nothing wrong with starting there, but keep your life's mission front and center and have timelines for everything. Hey, I'm going to work this job for 2 years and then I'm going to get into making music, or hey, I'm going to stick with this job for 3 years and I'm going to open up my own business. Whatever it is, it's perfectly fine. Maybe you don't have to be an entrepreneur. Maybe you want to do something else. But have a mission, have timelines, have goals for yourself, and don't let anything deviate from it. What people make a mistake of doing in the corporate world is they maybe start off with goals, and then it goes in the trash, and then, like you said, the paycheck drug comes in, goes in your veins, and you forget about everything else, and you just become a zombie working for a paycheck that has no purpose, no goal in life, and you're just walking around with really kind of an empty shell. Mm-hmm. And we don't want that for you guys. That's why we put this together. It was honestly just raw thoughts and feelings around corporate world. I know we had kind of like a script, and we wanted to stick with it, but obviously we have lots of thoughts and feelings around here. So just wanted to thank you guys. Any final thoughts, John?
No, I really appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, John, for joining us. I guess we will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Don Mohsin out. And John out.